Debt is money. How to use debt to build wealth like the rich. My friends, what if I told you that everything you've been taught about debt is wrong? That debt, yes, that four-letter word that most people fear, that Dave Ramsey loves to hate on, is actually the key to building wealth and financial freedom. This isn't just some crazy theory. In fact, as I'm going to demonstrate in this video, it is the cornerstone to success with most of the companies that we know, like, and trust. And not only that, it is the key to creating wealth in this inflationary economy that we all operate in. The concept that debt is money is the cornerstone of Robert Kiyosaki's philosophy and the main idea that he's trying to convey in his groundbreaking book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If savers are losers, then debtors, they're winners. Sound contrary? Well, you're not alone. And today, we're going to be diving deep into why debt is money and how you can use it to accelerate your path to financial independence. Stick around because this video could change everything you thought you knew about money. Hi, I'm Ryan D. Lee, a non-traditional financial strategist, and I help people use debt as leverage to achieve financial freedom in 10 years or less. I've done it, I've helped hundreds of other people do the same, and I know with the right mindset and strategy, my friends, you can too. Let's start with the traditional view of debt. Most of us were taught that debt is bad. You borrow money and suddenly you're a slave to the lender. Whether it's student loans, credit cards, or a mortgage, the common advice is to pay off your debt as quickly as possible and then avoid debt like the plague. Dave Ramsey has built a devoted following with his baby steps approach. People work hard to get out of debt and proudly scream at the top of their lungs, "I'm debt free!" And while I admire the commitment and the sense of accomplishment in becoming debt free, the sad truth is that this mindset reinforces a paradigm that traps most people in the first place. Debt isn't inherently bad or good. Debt is just that. It's debt. What matters is how we view it and ultimately how we use it. Unfortunately, most people have never been trained on how to manage debt effectively. The school system hasn't taught them well, their parents may have modeled poor examples, and the financial system of financial professionals and retirement planning, they perpetuate the erroneous belief that all debt is bad. Because of this lack of understanding, most people misuse debt. They become victims to it. And the view of getting out of consumer debt is a massive victory. And while it's definitely a win, it's not enough to ever achieve financial freedom. And my friends, it's kind of like winning the battle, but losing the war. The truth is, most people who work hard to get out of debt end up right back in debt because they haven't learned how to master the skills to control debt. Instead, they end up being controlled and mastered by the debt that they're constantly running away from. So in order to flip this around, first let's tackle the fundamental question. What is money? Well, my friends, money is debt. That's right. If you pull out a $20 bill right now, you'll notice that it says Federal Reserve Note right at the top of the $20 bill. This isn't just a label. It's a declaration that the bill is essentially an IOU issued by the Federal Reserve. Now, according to the Federal Reserve, it's a promise that the US government will honor this note as legal tender for all debts, public and private. But at the end of the day, my friends, it is debt. It is an IOU. So every day, whether you realize it or not, you're interacting with a form of debt. Debt is money. The American economy is built on debt. The more you try to run away from it, thinking that debt is inherently bad, the more you miss the massive opportunity to truly win in a system that's fundamentally structured around debt. Now, let's bring in Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and a true financial revolutionary. Kiyosaki turns conventional wisdom on its head, telling us that debt isn't something to fear, rather it's something to leverage. According to Kiyosaki, debt is money, and not just any kind of money, but a powerful tool that can help you build real and lasting wealth. But here's the catch. It has to be the right kind of debt. We're talking about what's known as good debt, the kind that puts money in your pocket instead of taking money out of your pocket. Many people who understand the true nature of debt prey on those who don't. They trick them into using debt to buy liabilities. When you do this, you're essentially trading your future work and income to pay for something that's going to depreciate. It's trapping you in the cycle of debt that so many people believe is inherently bad. But let's flip this script. What if you could use the government's fake money? Remember, money is debt. It's an IOU to buy a real asset. That's when debt becomes your ally, not your enemy. Imagine you're trying to grow your retirement portfolio, and if you believe that debt is bad, you're going to search for growing your portfolio in a conventional way. You might try to squeeze out a higher return by moving one mutual fund at 8% to a mutual fund that might earn 10%. And sure, maybe this will help, but in the long run, not really. The more risk you take chasing a higher rate of return in something you can't control, the more likely it is to fail. But what if I told you that there's a much easier way to 4x your investment? Let me show you how. The compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of single-family homes from the early 1960s all the way to today has been about 5.4%. What that means is if you bought a home in cash and just held on to it, on average it would appreciate by 5.4% annually. Now, not bad, but that's not mind-blowing, right? Now, this is where it starts to get interesting. Instead of buying that home in cash, what if you took out a 30-year mortgage with a 20% down payment and let the bank finance the rest? Suddenly, your return jumps from 5.4% to 27% annually. Why? Because of one thing, my friends: debt. Now you're starting to catch a glimpse of how powerful debt can be. So let's take it one step further. What if, instead of putting a 20% down payment, what if you bought the same house, but you only put a 5% down payment and let the bank finance 95% of the rest of the home? You're using debt to buy an asset. Your return wouldn't just increase, it would skyrocket to 108%. You see, when used to buy an asset, debt makes you money. It's like having access to the government printing press. Remember, money is debt. It's an IOU, and the government is printing trillions of dollars every single year, and by using debt, you can play their game to your advantage. So did you catch the key to flip debt from bad to good? Good debt is borrowed money used to acquire assets that generate income. Think about real estate, for example. You take out a mortgage to buy a rental property. Sure, you have debt, but you also have a tenant who's paying rent every single month. This rent covers your mortgage and puts a little bit of extra cash in your pocket. That's good debt in action, using other people's money to make you money. On the flip side, there's bad debts. That's the debt that drains your finances, like credit cards or a car loan. These are liabilities, not assets. They take money out of your pocket every single month without giving you anything back. The key is to shift your focus from paying off bad debt to strategically using good debt to buy assets. Now that you understand the power of debt, let me share with you the secret to building wealth in today's economy. It's debt. My friends, it is no secret, it's debt. Imagine how much faster you could build wealth if you use the government's fake money, debt, to buy real assets. In fact, if you want to build wealth, there's an equation that some of the most successful companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Tesla, as well as some of the top investors, use. It's called a debt-to-asset ratio. Successful companies and investors plan their optimal debt ratio strategically to fuel growth and build wealth. Take Apple, for example. As of March 2024, Apple had approximately $67 billion in cash and $104 billion in debt. If Apple hired Dave Ramsey to come in and give them a consultation, Dave Ramsey would march right into their headquarters and say, "You're dumb. You need to use your cash to pay off that debt immediately, otherwise you're dumb." But Apple, they know better. They understand the power of an optimal debt-to-asset ratio. They use debt to finance growth, which led to year-to-date revenue as of right now of $296 billion. Apple knows that debt is money, and they use this knowledge to make even more money. But they also understand that debt must be used strategically. They don't borrow every single penny that they can. They maintain healthy reserves and operating income. That's one of the reasons that they keep so much cash on hand. A smart investor knows their optimal debt-to-asset ratio. So, what's yours? It's a simple calculation. You take your total debt divided by your total assets. If you're in the wealth building phase of your life, I recommend aiming for a 50 to a 70% debt-to-asset ratio. If you're nearing retirement, you can lower that a little bit to maybe 40 to 50%, but you will never eliminate your debt completely. Because no matter what stage of life you're in, debt must be part of your wealth building equation. Why? Well, because debt is money. If you haven't got that yet, my friends, you're still missing the point of this video and the way the economy is structured. Debt is money and money is debt. Running away from this truth is simply denying reality. You can deny reality all you want, but it doesn't change it. It just changes your experience of it. This is why so many people remain poor. They're living in a reality where debt is money, but they aren't aligning their financial behavior with this fact. So start crafting your debt philosophy today. Debt is leverage, and leverage is a force multiplier. It can take your limited dollars, your limited resources, and massively magnify and multiply them. When you use this multiplication to convert debt into assets, my friends, you've cracked the code to creating real wealth. A strategic debt philosophy will provide you with the following 4 things. Number 1, increase liquidity. You'll have greater access to cash when you need it. Number 2, increase flexibility. You'll discover multiple ways to achieve your financial goals. Number 3 is increase leverage. You'll begin to see the layers of leverage available to you. And number 4, increase survivability. While I'm not going to go deep into this concept right now, there are safeguards in place to protect you as an investor when you're using debt. So, if you're ready to break free from the traditional mindset and start using debt as a tool to build your wealth, hit that subscribe button right now and join the Wealth Outside of Wall Street community, where we're here to challenge conventional wisdom and help you take control over your financial future. I want you to leave a comment below. Tell me what your biggest takeaway was from Kiyosaki's concept that debt is money, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and answer any questions that you have of how you can start using debt to build real wealth. Remember, financial freedom, it's not about avoiding debt, it's about using it wisely. So rise up and live free, and I'll see you on the next video.